2012 Chevy Cruze with the 1.8 ecotec engine, and today we're going to be replacing the transmission valve body. I've already drained the transmission and gone over the refilling procedure, and that is on a different video that I will post in the video description below. So if you need to see that, go ahead and check out that video. But for this video, I'm just going to focus on replacing the actual valve body. First part of this job, I'm going to be removing the battery and the battery tray and trying to get this computer out of the way, see if I can't get the harness that's connected to it so I can just lay it over the top of the engine to give us access to the top of the transmission. $10mm for removing the brace and the positive cable, but for whatever reason the nut on the negative is a 7/16. I don't know if that'll be the same for everybody. This might have been replaced. If you look right here on this side of the battery, you can see that this piece right here has a metal clip that actually holds on to the battery. And with that clip removed, we can remove the front metal cover and the battery. The nuts inside are 13mm. And slide away your harnesses the best that you can. And then right here for the computer, there's a little push tab right here. Where'd my screwdriver go? Go ahead and pry that back a little bit, and you'll be able to slide that out. Plastic cover. And right here we have some harness straps that are held on with a small plastic tab. Be careful about these ones, they like to break. And remove the battery tray. Normally you'd want to remove this high side hose for your radiator next, but I'm going to try to do it without doing that because I really don't feel like replacing radiator fluid if I can avoid it. But you will need to be able to put some slack in these metal lines right here. And I can't decide if I want to disconnect them from the transmission or the radiator cooler up here by the radiator first. Getting this one out. This one goes underneath this engine mount, and getting that hard line out without removing the engine mount will probably be a little bit difficult. But that's still probably looking like my best bet. I'll see if I can't just slide the line over the transmission hump this way into the wheel well and pull it out like that. That might be the best way. These bolts for the transmission hard lines are 13 millimeters. So I'm going to try a little 13 on my 1/4 inch little hand ratchet. Second nut is removed. Let's go ahead and wiggle this line out of the way. Let's see if my idea works. A little bit of a hassle, but it works. Just gonna put this back here over this AC line. And with the length of this one, I don't think it's gonna happen. So I'm just gonna hold it out of the way while I'm doing the rest of this work. All right, now we're gonna remove this harness that's going on top of the transmission in this hard case, which is always fun. First thing I wanna do is remove this clip that's connected to the gear selector around the back. Let's see if we can't give it a little wiggle to pop that up. Good. And a 10 millimeter bolt right here. Now if you look straight down here, you'll see our harness. Connected right here. First thing we need to do is remove this safety tab. This next part may be easier to do from underneath, so I'm going to lift the vehicle real quick. From underneath the vehicle, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try to get a good camera shot on it. You can see our connector right here. First thing you need to do is remove this red safety clip by pulling it straight out the back. Be a little bit difficult to do while holding your camera. There we go. It's less of a pull and more of a push. For this connector, and then you just keep sliding it all the way forward and it'll lift itself off. Give it a wiggle and remove. So here's the connector we just disconnected, and to better explain what I did, because I know it was difficult to see in that area, when this is locked to the rear, if you get yourself a screwdriver and you push it right here into this rear window, if you pull forward on it, it'll come right off because you're pressing down on this release pin right there, and that'll give you access to remove this connector. And a quick tip, just to make life a little bit easier, go ahead and wrap all these harnesses up with a temporary zip tie. slide that zip tie over your windshield washer spout right here, and that'll hold all your harnesses out of the way. And if we follow this hard line down here, we can see that it's got one of those harness clips on it. Just use a flathead screwdriver to pry that retention clip open. And then remove it from that casting. And we can push that out of the way. And with that out of the way, we'll have a lot more room to finish pushing this hard line down, giving us full access to the front cover of the transmission. Next, we're going to finally remove the front cover for the transmission. It's 8mm for all of the bolts. Make sure you have a catch can underneath of the transmission, because even after draining the transmission fluid, there will probably still be some fluid here in the front cover, and there's no point in making a mess that you can easily avoid. Alright, looks like from the top of the vehicle we were able to get every single bolt except for these four. 1, 2, 3, and then right back here we have our fourth one. Let's go ahead and remove those. Looks like the last one back here in the corner, boop, is just in too tight of an area, so I'm going to switch over to a standard 1/4 inch ratchet to finish the job. And that is the last of our bolts. And as you can see, we got our leaking already starting. Let's go ahead and see if we can't pull this away a little bit. Like I said, have your drain pan ready. Not a lot, but now I'm gonna mess to clean up. And with all the bolts removed, we can go ahead and remove that front cover from the top. And now we have access to the transmission valve body. Alright, let's start removing the valve body. Alright, next we're going to be removing these two connectors right here, this small one and this large one right next to it. I know it's be a little bit difficult to see, but with the limited space we have, just, to keep doing the best I can. With a flathead screwdriver, we're going to reach underneath and gently pull them out. Be very careful not to break these. They can be brittle depending on the mileage of the vehicle. And this one Nope, I thought I might be able to get it off just by squeezing, but it doesn't look like it's going to let me. So we're going to gently pry underneath again. There we go. And the last one is a little bit difficult to see. It's actually underneath. So let's lift the car back up and we'll attack that one. And back underneath the vehicle, we can see our last connector right here. And it is broken. Unless I'm seeing that wrong, it looks like the clip up top is missing. Okay. Let me play around with this real quick to make sure that it's still connected. No, it's gone. I just pulled that right off. It was still in there though because it's being held in by the wire pressing up against the bottom of the transmission here. But I'm gonna assume I'm not the first person to pull this thing out. So that's interesting. While we're under here, I'll take advantage of the angle and start removing these 10mm bolts going all the way down the middle. And over here you'll see we have a 7mm bolt right here, and there's 2 up top, and we can get those from the top though, so I'm not worried about those right now. But these lower ones I'm going to go ahead and knock out. These are longer bolts than I was expecting. And we're gonna hit this 7mm bolt right there, much shorter. Back up top side, we're gonna go ahead and finish removing these 10mm bolts. And from up top, we got the last 5 10mm bolts out. And the last 2 7mm bolts, which are going to be a little bit hidden by where the connector plugs in. They're right underneath of that. And what you really want to do is hold on to the valve body as you remove these bolts, because this thing will be ready to pop out as soon as it's done. And these 2 7mm. And the valve body is ready to come out. Oh. And here we have our valve body. There's our solenoids. Don't ask me which one does what, because I have no idea. Alright, and for the old valve body, we have our new gasket for the front cover. This is straight from GM, part number 24234281. And for our new valve body, we have the GM part number 24041956. With our new valve body installed and all of our connections on and all of our bolts installed, we're going to go ahead and start with the valve body cover again, putting a new gasket on that. A quick note that I want to make before installing the valve body: install every single bolt, all the 10s and the 7s, put them in a couple threads by hand so you know that all of them are lined up. Second, make sure that you put down all of your 10mm bolts first. These 10mm bolts have an internal gasket that needs to seal, and if you do these 7mm bolts first, you're actually going to rotate the valve body a little bit, and it's going to make it less likely that those gaskets that are internal here are going to seal. So make sure you do all of your 10mm bolts first and then the 7mm bolts. Alright, let's go ahead and replace this gasket. In a bag inside of the bag. And right there, made in Korea, straight from GM. Oh, nice. Now the fun part, figuring out how this thing is supposed to go on. I usually just pick one side, which is this one, but it looks like I'm wrong. Is it right here? Nope. There it goes. Just takes a second. You gotta think about it. Mine was inside out, so I had to reverse it. So you just gotta play with it. Same thing with valve cover gaskets. Sometimes they just look wonky until you figure out where one piece goes, and then the rest of the pieces all fall into place. Alright. And go ahead and install that with all of your 8mm bolts. And that's pretty much it. Reinstall everything else in the reverse order and you will be golden. This video helped you out. Leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Don't forget to top off your transmission fluid.